Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with the story of a man who was a real parking terrorist for his neighbors. Did this incident affect him in a positive way at all, or did he just blame it on everyone else? We'll tell you after a short pause. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Enjoy parking your $100,000 RV on the street. I was reminded of this earlier and thought I'd share. When I was a teenager, parking on our street was a nightmare, particularly because of this parking Nazi that lived across from us. We had a one-car driveway with 4 people in the house that drove their own cars, so somebody had to park in front of a neighbor's house if we were all home. The neighbor in question owned 2 houses next door to each other, one big, one about half the size. The big house where they lived had a driveway you could fit 5 cars in, not to mention a 2-car garage, and the other house had a single-car driveway. The husband parked in the small house driveway, the wife in the big house garage, and they had a small Saturn they towed behind their RV when they went on vacation. They kept it parked on the street. What this guy would do is try to arrange his Saturn so that nobody could park on his side of the street, and to further block people, he kept trash on the curb 7 days a week. This led to words being exchanged, the city getting involved because you can't put your trash out until the day before trash day. I looked in his trash bags once and it was literally filled with dirt. He was digging up dirt, putting them in bags, and putting them on the curb just to regulate parking. Between the 2 houses, he had 2 dumpsters and 2 recycle bins. He would space them out in front of both houses like 10 feet apart to prevent people from parking. He'd even call the police if a friend visited it and would report the car as suspicious. No joke, we had police knock on our door asking about the owner of vehicles numerous times. Finally, I got my revenge though. They had this RV that looked like a tour bus. It was huge, the sides folded out like a home on wheels. Well, one day in the summer, he pulled it out and left with it, getting some work done or inspected or something, and that's when I struck. I parked my car directly across from his driveway, and my stepdad parked on his side just past his driveway, and there was a utility pole on the other side. He pulls back up later, and try as he might, he can't get the RV back into the driveway. It was way too long. He must have tried for 30 minutes while we all just watched in the front yard. He finally got fed up and parked it on the street. The only catch was you can't park RVs on the street in my city, so as soon as he went in the house, we called the police and complained. The cops came out and harassed him, basically telling him he needs to move it soon or he's going to get ticketed and leave. We kept our cars parked like that for a solid week. If someone planned on leaving, we'd coordinate so someone else could jump in our spot. We rotated cars out of those spots for the entire week, and you could see him staring out the window every time someone left, only to have someone pull right in behind us. He eventually got it back in when someone had to leave and we couldn't coordinate the parking any longer. But I know he did not like that RV being on the road, and if he didn't get ticketed, I'd be surprised. And our second story. When calling the cops backfired on a customer. Service desk calls as a manager are the absolute worst calls. A customer was upset because a cashier stole her gift cards. She wanted me to take care of it immediately as well as witness me terminate the cashier. I asked her to wait while I go and look up the information on the security cameras with our LP team. As we're researching the claim, I get an urgent call to come to the service desk. The customer had called the police and was ranting and raving about the thief who stole her merchandise. The cashier was new and visibly scared and shaken. I assured her that we were checking the cameras and that we'd come up with a solution fairly soon. I get radioed to the LP office because he found out what happened to the gift cards. It turns out that the customer was so busy talking on her phone during checkout, I think that's so rude, and while exiting the building that she pushed her cart into the cart corral without picking up her one and only bag. Another customer grabbed the cart and brought it inside to use it because he knew it was a busy time of year for us. I explained what happened and she turned bright red. I simply voided all the gift cards off her receipt and started the sale all over again. She asked why I didn't do that in the beginning, and I told her that we take all complaints of theft very seriously. She was shocked that we started investigating ASAP. The cop made her apologize to the service desk attendant, me, and the poor cashier she accused of theft. Then he warned her to never ever call them for frivolous claims again unless she wanted to get arrested. Ah, sweet justice. And our last story. EM tries to steal from an ambulance, then prevents it from leaving. This is not my story, but my wife's. She's an EMT. Cast: EM, entitled mother. Kid, EM's kid. Old sick lady. Old man, old sick lady's husband. Nice neighbor. PTO 1, Public Transportation Officer 1. PTO 2, Police Transportation Officer 2. Cindy, my wife. Paul, my wife's coworker. Call is received. We head out. A worrying call, not corona-related. The old sick lady has other health issues. She is, however, very fragile. They called in a little late, hoping it would pass on its own to limit exposure if possible. It didn't pass. It got quite bad to the point going to the hospital by themselves was no longer an option. We arrive at the house in question, no other options than to double park. Nice neighbor waved us down. Note, as far as I know, he does shopping/gardening, etc. for old sick lady and old man. Unsure. Nice guy anyway. Cindy went inside and Paul gathered equipment needed. Old sick lady is a frequent caller. We knew what was needed. We're now both inside lady's house. Paul mentioned that there was a car waiting in front of the ambulance and a lady inside was gesturing angrily. Barely 2 minutes pass. A horn starts blaring outside constantly. Nice neighbor can be heard yelling at someone through the noise, then silence. A car door slams. An unknown high-pitched voice, EM, can be heard but too far away to really understand. It's quiet for a bit, then the following can be heard at the doorstep. Door is cracked open. EM, get out of the way! Nice neighbor, no ma'am, what are you doing? You need to move your car, you're blocking in the ambulance. EM, well, it should have just parked in a spot then. There's one right there. Now move and let me in. I have a child in the car. I've been waiting for 10 minutes. Nothing was free when we arrived, and we don't care. We parked conveniently for us, not you. Meanwhile, we're still caring for old sick lady. Nice neighbor. Ma'am, you're not getting in. Do not touch me. EM now yelling, let me in. I need to talk to the ambulance people. More yelling of the same sort continues. Paul. She's not giving up, calling in a disturbance. Old man. What's her problem? Why does she want in my house? I don't know this woman. Why does she want inside my house? Do I call the police? My wife's sick. Why is she yelling? Old man was getting very anxious about the whole situation. Since Paul didn't need any help for the current part and keeping the calm was more important, Cindy went to the door. Cindy, what's the problem? Nice neighbor. Well, this cut off. EM, excuse me, you're blocking the entire road. You should move your car. Cindy, we're on call. Please back up and drive around the other side of the square. Tries to head back inside. EM, I'm not the one blocking the road. I have my 6-year-old with me. He's frightened and just wants to go home. Kid, who looks to be at least 10 years old at least, trying to sink through the ground standing next to the car. Cindy, then turn your car around and go home. We're not moving our ambulance for you. This person needs help and you need to leave before we call the police. EM, wow, okay, you don't have to be effing rude about it. We're all in a crisis together, you know. EM, in a calmer tone. Oh, by the way, are those masks for corona? Those look like they'll work well. Paul, from inside. Cindy? Cindy runs inside. EM, calling after her. I'm not that good at backing up. Could you help me? Hello? Nice neighbor. Later stated he helped her back out before heading back inside to check on his kids. Old sick lady wasn't doing too well. The call was made to take her in as soon as we could safely move her. Cindy runs out and gets the stretcher. EM was backed into an empty spot at this point. Meanwhile, a bus has been standing there parked off to the side for a few minutes. It couldn't detour like the cars did. The driver was just patiently messing about on his phone. Cindy heads back inside, working on old sick lady. A few minutes later, we just got her on the stretcher as we hear the following. PTO 1, EM, what are you doing? Get out of that ambulance. EM, I'm just grabbing something for my son. They said it was okay. PTO 1, get out now. Kid, crying, Mom, I don't even want a mask. Let's go home, please. We walk outside, and sure enough, EM was standing in the ambulance, making a mess of everything, touching equipment, etc. without gloves, obviously searching for things. Info: the PTO, public transportation officers, were nearby and had come to check out the situation of the blocked bus route. PTO 1 to Paul: "Sir, did you give permission to this woman to enter/take stuff from the ambulance?" Paul: "Hell no. She's been making a whole scene and has now contaminated our ambulance." Paul, meanwhile, had already called for a second ambulance as soon as we walked out and saw EM. That luckily arrived fast as lightning. They ended up having to take old sick lady in. She left 4 or 5 minutes later than if they weren't delayed, but being stable, it seemed less risky to transfer her to their ambulance than to wait out EM and use a dirty one. PTO 1 and 2 were still trying to get her to come out. They're not allowed to touch people, but looked about ready to drag her out by the ears. EM: "If they waited that long to even get her outside, she's fine." PTO 1: "Ma'am, that's not your call. You're blocking the EMTs from performing their jobs." EM: "They could at least hand out masks to people who don't have any. Waiting around for them to finish talking and leave puts us at risk too." Someone didn't take her meds today. Her arguments only became more and more childish. That she had the right of way, that there was a parking restriction, etc. PTO 1 and PTO 2 finally got the woman to come out of the ambulance right before the police arrived. They arrested EM. She went ballistic and started crying and grasping at kid. The poor kid was bawling his eyes out, scared and confused. Nice neighbor ended up calling kid's dad, who came to collect him within minutes. The dad barely said a word, but the kid was crying he didn't want to visit mom anymore if she kept doing mean things. And dad looked ready to pop her head off her shoulders, but kept his cool. I really felt for the poor boy. The case is clear, with not only tons of witnesses, but also recorded on the ambulance's camera, the PTO's body cameras, and the bus's dash camera. That's all, folks. Let me know what you think of this entitled mother. Gee, lady, did you ever think that maybe your kid's scared because he realizes just how effing backcrap insane you are? And how much of a public embarrassment you are? Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.